Welcome to the Real Estate Marketing Podcast. My name is Jerome Lewis. I'm your host for today. The Real Estate Marketing Podcast is a podcast where we talk marketing, tech, business, and leadership. We talk these things for real estate agents, real estate investors, and real estate entrepreneurs. The Real Estate Marketing Podcast is a podcast that has two purposes. Purpose number one, to educate and inform our audience and listeners. Purpose number two, Vince, to spotlight you, your business, your service, or your product in a way that provides value to you, including market exposure and content creation. With that, we have a very special guest, Vince Shorb, a leading advocate and financial expert dedicated to creating partnerships between service providers and wellness-focused organizations with a mission to increase awareness, enhance brand presence, and deepen relationships with clients and prospects. Vince has spent over 15 years working in the financial services industry, positively impacting the lives of more than 20,000 individuals. Currently serving as CEO of the National Finance Educators Council, NFEC, Vince is at the forefront combating the epidemic of financial illiteracy. He leads a dedicated organization focused on empowering people to develop successful financial habits and provides value to financial service providers by delivering personalized one-on-one services. As a certified B Corporation and accredited IACET company, Vince has led the development of educational programs that have been utilized by the top 20 revenue-generating financial companies in the United States. The client base consisting of over 1,400 organizations of all sizes, Vince works closely with the financial services providers to cultivate financial success and make a difference in financial wellness of their clients. His mission is to provide value to partners and the community through education initiatives at the local level. By participating in cause-based campaigns, Vince empowers businesses to achieve their goals while benefiting the communities they serve. Vince, I'm excited that you're here. Welcome to the show.
Jerome, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I just want to go back and I want to go in your bio. There was something that jumped out to me, and I want you to help us understand it. IACET. Could you help us understand what that stands for? And
Yeah, it's an accreditation body. So there's accredited providers. We're one of the very few, less than 5 in the total financial education industry.
Okay.
Multiple year process, very detailed. It's like going through the biggest underwriting loan you've ever seen times 10. But the reason we went through that is because we're trying to elevate financial education standards to meet standards set by schools and colleges where they're not teaching it. Schools aren't teaching financial education to the standards that we need. Anybody here that's in the mortgage or real estate space, you know it when people call in and they have absolutely no idea on their finances. They don't know their credit score. They're calling in for a $500,000 loan. They can qualify for maybe $120, right? That's financial literacy. That's what we're trying to combat. And really, I saw this front line in the mortgage space. I spent many years there, and just the problems that people were facing. I couldn't do enough on the mortgage side, right? I was on the phone where people were getting evicted. People were just contacting me too late while proceedings were moving forward too fast, and I couldn't help them. And I think this issue of financial illiteracy is an epidemic. And we wanted to showcase, hey, we meet the highest education standards. So we're bringing in principles that will help people achieve that most effectively.
Thank you for sharing that. And you kind of touched on yours, because typically I like people to tell their story and how they got to where they got to. And you start talking a little bit about it. So you went from like real estate and now you're into financial services. Can you take us through that journey so we can understand how you got here today?
Yeah, I always had an interest in real estate. I made my first real estate purchase at 19. I was always the guy in the back of the classroom. I didn't care about the typical subjects in school. I knew they were useless for the most part. Chemistry, biology, I can care less. American literature, that stuff, I don't care. But I was studying about real estate, investing in those types of aspects. Now, although I was really interested in real estate, I felt the other stuff was kind of boring. I didn't really put a focus there, the credit, the budgeting, that stuff. I always was looking, hey, what can help me grow and expand to build a real estate empire? Really, that was my vision. And, I had the day of reckoning after some college student loan debt, some credit card debt, making investments with advances on credit cards back in the day. I made some mistakes. It caught up with me, right? And I paid the price. And I got into financial services to help people. And really, my time there, I felt like as a frontline educator, right? I was teaching people the process of the various industries I was in. And that was a big role of what I did, but I kept feeling like I was putting a band-aid on issues. I'd refi somebody, lower their pay off all their credit card debt, roll everything into one loan, lower their payments by a few grand, and then 3, 4, 8 months later, they would contact me again and say, "Hey, I need another 50 grand." I'm like, "What's going on? We just worked out a budget. We did all this for you." So I felt like I was really putting a band-aid. And that's when I founded the NFEC back almost 2 decades ago, and was really focused on proactively educating people before they get to get and find those problems that I did, and really serve in that way. But it's something that I've always been passionate about. I've always, even when I was investing young, the thing I loved most was my friends and my parents' friends asking me, "Hey, how do I buy a home? What's that?" And I love that, right? And I didn't really connect the two until after my time, when I was considering, "Hey, where do I move from financial services?" And my mom brought that to a realization. She said, "Hey, you always used to talk about providing education in schools, financial education." And I quit my job at that point, started this full time, and that's where I'm at here today.
Thank you. So you mentioned the NFEC. Could you tell us what that is and help us understand the mission, the purpose? Like, tell us about the NFEC.
Yeah, we're the National Financial Educators Council. So our role is really setting standards for the financial education and coaching industry. We partner with various groups from colleges, schools, government organizations, but we do a lot of work with financial services. In fact, about 25% of our clientele is in the financial service space. And they do this for a few reasons. A lot of like our real estate industry people are, you know, incorporate financial coaching into their practice to offset those times when markets change, interest rates increase, decrease. Throughout the years, we always help with the branding. So a lot of, especially the bigger organizations, are looking to align themselves with financial wellness. So we do a lot of work on their brand imagery, which is really the foundation of anything we do in the space. And I think it's a big missing piece of a lot of people in mortgages and in real estate. But so we help them with the branding, and we connect them with the cause. And I think this is so important because it helps to distinguish somebody from a cause-based perspective of value alignment. So there's something to have a conversation about. Positioning them as an educator, community leader, just helps with that overall perception of that brand and what you're providing to the community. And of course, provide educational resources. So a lot of them will like to do workshops and courses to build pipelines, right? They'll conduct a first-time homebuyers workshop, or a how to refinance workshop, and different targeted things of that nature. So again, the coaching, the brand piece, and also the education is really how we support financial service industry professionals.
Okay. And so when you say financial services, like what does that, I'm pretty sure it's like a lot of things incorporated within that, but what does that mean if I'm in real estate and I'm like, I'm interested in what it is that you're talking about. I'm like, you know what? A lot of my clients, they do need financial services. I know they need help with their mortgages, but maybe that's the furthest extent I know. Like, but it's deeper than that, right? It's like included as personal finances, investing, making sure you don't get like the wrong interest rates and all kind of stuff like that. So can you help us understand, like on a fundamental level, what financial services means?
Yeah, financial services, I just use it as a broad category for anybody offering financial products. So you
Okay.
could be your financial advisor, your CPA, even though it's a service, like I would, products and services, I should expand that.
Okay.
CPA, tax person, your realtor, mortgage broker, insurance person, right? They're all product or service driven. But I feel that all of them are part of the financial wellness industry. So my part in the financial wellness industry is educating, coaching, providing resources that are foundation. Everybody else's role in financial services is more providing the products and services that are going to help them get to that next level. What our goal is really to educate people so they're asking good questions, they're making decisions rooted in logic as opposed to emotion, and they're good clients, right? So I remember all the time, oftentimes people would have questions, and I'd spend a lot of time explaining very basics that you would assume no, or even worse, I would get calls back in the day where somebody would say, "Hey, I want to explore refinancing with you, but the last person talked to said I'm very close to not qualifying. They said my credit's bad, and I don't want to get my credit run again." So I'd have to explain, "Hey, you can pull it X number of times, and it will only count as one issue. And then I run their credit, and they're like 840 FICO. So the other person was just trying to, keep them out from shopping the various loans. I know things have changed since then, but it was a big problem back in the day. So I just want to make sure people are educated, so they have good conversation with professionals, so they're making decisions rooted in logic. And again, we're all helping them work toward greater financial wellness. Mine's through education, yours may be through getting a lower rate or making that investment to their first home purchase, but we're all helping them work toward greater financial wellness.
Thanks for sharing that. So I have coaches and mentors, but one of the things in our industry, or as real estate professionals, whether we're investors, agents, or coaches, like what you're saying, is like it's commoditized. Like we all kind of offer the same thing, right? And one of the best ways where you can like decommoditize yourself is by adding and providing other services, such as in your case, like what you're mentioning, right? So if I'm just a real estate agent, what are some other things that I can do that separate me from other real estate agents? And one of those things could be to provide financial education. So could you talk about that a little bit? Like how, because I know you understand branding and marketing, like this is one of those things that we as real estate professionals can add to our tool belt. And then it's like, okay, yeah, this agent brought me more because they gave me financial education as well. Could you talk about that?
Yeah, great question. And really, there's a few levels of financial education we can employ, right? And the beauty today, we'll start from the base level. The beauty today is there's automation, there's tools. I listened to one of your podcasts on incorporating these technology tools to enhance that client relationship. Great podcast, by the way, there. And really, the base level, we can incorporate education into our newsletters. We can send out targeted education. So if you know somebody has a 450 credit score, they're not going to be able to buy in the next few years, you can send out targeted education emails, automated, that are helping them address their credit. So you don't have to be involved. In this way, you can check in on them, once a year, once a quarter, whatever you set, and you're giving value to them, right? You're not just checking in without giving value. You're showing you're nurturing them, right? So that's a base level. Automated education, you can do some different social media groups and different things that are targeted, but very simple and easy to employ. The next level really is conducting workshops and classes. It can be online, it could be in person, but these are also a great tool to build partner relationships within the real estate industry and those feeder industries. So if somebody's interested in, let's say, buying a home for the first time, you let your title companies know, your appraisal companies, hey, I'm conducting this workshop, and they're all going to benefit from that person buying a home, right? So you can really get a nice coalition of people recommending your workshop and conducting those that make a real difference in people's confidence in doing that. And the third level really is adding coaching, which is very much like underwriting a loan in many cases. We're understanding somebody's financial situation. In the real estate industry, we're looking at 6 main factors. With coaching, we're looking at 31 factors of financial wellness. But this is a great one for the higher rate seasons, right? So if you're heavy into refis, rates go up, how are you going to supplement that income? Well, coaching is aligned with your brand, very easy to incorporate with what you do, and it's building future clientele as well, because you're helping them meet their most important urgent needs and getting them in position to make investments in the future. And maybe one of them for the client might be buying a home, and they built a relationship with you. So there's really multiple levels within financial education. There's many hybrids of all those levels. But I think just incorporating something, again, not only helps you deepen relationships, but is a great thing for your brand image, as you mentioned as well.
I would love to hear more about that. Like somebody's like interested, you make it sound really good. How would they get started? Do they reach out to you? Do they go to Google? What is that process like on incorporating what it is that you're talking about?
Yeah. They can reach out to us at financialeducatorscouncil.org or connect with me on LinkedIn, Vince Shorb, SHORB, and happy to help and direct them best. But our goal as an organization is to provide turnkey systems to implement these programs. It's not like, okay, hey, you got to figure it out. It's like, no, here's exactly what to do. Here's the emails to send. Here's the marketing pieces already pre-done. Here's a training on what to say. Here's the materials. Here's the coaching software. So everything's pre-built. There's no need to reinvent the wheel. When we started, as I alluded to before, we didn't start out as a counsel. I came from the mortgage industry. I brought over clients that I then started coaching, started doing financial education workshops. And this is built through years of us performing those actions on people. And we just grew so much, it's just we had to expand to serve others so that they can reach more people. But that's really, it was rooted in us delivering it, refining that over many, many iterations, with the goal of lowering the cost and time needed to create something from scratch.
Thank you for sharing that. And like we know you have like a niche in financial services, but this also applies to like real estate. So when I ask you these questions, I want you to think about both perspectives, or if you can combine it, you can do that too. So the first question, what are most common questions faced by financial service providers across the different industries?
I think a lot of times it's just basic questions. And I think the key thing people are looking for is confirmation that you understand their situation. So I think a lot of questions are, hey, do you really understand me in my situation? I think it's a big problem in financial services across the board is, hey, we don't take enough time to really understand what are their near-term goals, what is those next steps for them, what do they have envisioned. But it's not always the financial service provider's issue. It's oftentimes the person hasn't thought about it. So when you're getting somebody to think about something, it takes a lot more conversation around that. Again, there's two ways to conduct business. There's one transactional. If you're going through a high volume transactions and just doing that, that's one way, right? The other way is more relationship building, where you're taking longer and understanding somebody's needs. So let's say I met a financial advisor for the first time, and just on the street, hey, I'm John, I'm a financial advisor, and he tries to sell me a bond fund right away. Hey, you should invest in this bond, without him knowing anything about me. I'd be like, red flag, right? But if this guy took an hour having a conversation, understanding my plans, hey, are you going to have kids? Are you going to get married? Are you going to, take care of an aging parent? What's the next step for you? What are your next major financial milestones? What are the major challenges you're faced with here today? What are those pain points that keep you up at night? He spent an hour, then he recommended it based on that knowledge. I'd be like, oh, great, right? I'd feel much more secure in his recommendation because he knew that. So yeah, I think the biggest thing I would say is, hey, if you're looking for that more relationship oriented practice, take that time to really know that person on a deep level and identify their most important and urgent needs now, and also the longer term goals.
Thank you. So could you help us, like, help me understand, you mentioned a little bit earlier, help us understand what brand equity is, and let us know what we can do to increase awareness around that.
Yeah, I think it's a huge thing, and many independent like people in the real estate space are really missing that. I have buddies that have been in mortgages for 30 years, right? And everyone, whenever I talk to anybody, right, the first thing I do, no matter what, anybody I talk to on the phone, even friends that I haven't talked to maybe once a year, I look them up online. That's just what I do. I don't do social media, so I don't keep up. I don't have any social channels. That's what I do besides LinkedIn. So I just look them up online, type in their name, and I'll typically see a website. It's okay, a couple pages, mention their LinkedIn, and maybe mention on like the broker side or something, right? But that's it. I would never, because I know them, I'd trust them, I'd have them do my loan. But if I was shopping for a loan, I would never hire them, because I don't see anything that gives third party credibility. I don't see anything that's really highlighting them. And in today's age, online presence is a key indicator of trust. When you're in a high trust required business where somebody's trusting you with a huge dollar amount that's bigger than they make in 5, 10, 15 years of their life, right? When we're doing a loan or having them buy a piece of real estate, it's a major investment. And that trust is so key. So if that's all you see on somebody, it's like, very low trust. It's important to build that brand equity. How do we do that? By getting out there and through a few ways. Community service is a great builder of trust. Through conducting programming, maybe volunteering, getting on and highlighting that online. So and we do all that for our clients, but getting them online, looking out for their education pieces. So if they're producing some education materials, that's a showcase of their expertise. So we want community service part of the brand. We want expertise part of that brand. So if they're working with a certain type of maybe they're specialized in buying rental properties, right? I want to see articles. I want to see data on them, writing and producing videos, anything on that where they're showing their expertise. The other portion is leadership. I want to show that they're thought leaders in their industry. And that's how I would pick somebody. And that's really that brand equity piece. And what we do is work with people in the real estate and financial services, which is building their brand equity through giving back to the community. We facilitate all that through providing education articles written on their behalf. So it's highlighting their expertise, and they're contributing as well because we want their unique niche in there. Creating the social image graphics, putting them on videos. So when somebody looks them up, they're seeing 8 to 10 things on the front page or two of Google that showcase their videos, their imagery, their expertise, their thought leadership, and their community service. And when you see that, it's like, okay, I have trust now. In fact, when I looked at, I bought a place out in Texas. My buddies aren't licensed in Texas, so I didn't go through them. I looked up online. The guy I found, he had multiple pages, did a lot of work with the military, did a lot of community service. That's how I picked him. And he's a great guy and did 90% purchases, which was perfectly in alignment with what I was looking for. Wrote a ton of articles about purchases. It's like, that is what we want to imitate for other people in the space, so that, hey, there's that added sense of trust and value alignment, which is also, that value alignment is very key today. And that's what we do.
Thank you. So when I was reading your bio, I could see like a lot of purpose and a lot of cause within your bio. So from your perspective, can you tell us why that is important to be associated with some kind of cause, and also help us understand, cause, what that is?
Yeah, cause-based marketing is huge. We see the growth. If you look out there, all these big players are doing this cause-based marketing, and there's a right way and a wrong way to do it, right? Oftentimes we see the cause-based marketing gone wrong, right? Where they have a product and they align with the cause where 40% of people hate them, 40% love them, and 20% don't care, right? Very risky. You're cutting out a huge amount of people from that cause. We also see cause where there's not alignment. So maybe you're a realtor and you love dogs. So you're promoting your dog cause through your business. And it's like, okay, well, I love dogs too, but does that make me trust this person as a realtor more? The beauty of financial wellness, and I'm a little biased, obviously, I have a financial wellness company, but it's a perfect alignment with financial services, because when there's congruency, when there's alignment, there's trust. So if you're in the mortgage, realtor, whatever space you're in, and you're aligning with financial wellness, they see you out volunteering at maybe local schools, donating materials. There's a alignment with your core business model. It's nothing you have to explain, right? So it matches. Additionally, with that, you can, with that brand piece, it's very critical as well to be active and not a faker. You want authentic participation, right? It's like a lot of people say, I'm involved in this cause, and there's nothing to back that up. It's very critical that authentic participation is there. Lastly, we see a big issue with this. They'll do a lot of cause-based marketing programs. They'll do a lot of front-end loaded. So on the initial marketing, the sales funnel, they're talking about the cause they're involved in. And then when they become a client, they never hear about it again. So we want to make that very, very ingrained into that whole persona of who you are. And when you do that way, now you've created a brand around financial wellness, which for anybody in the sales side, right, it lowers that barrier of worried about, hey, I'm going to get stuck in a sales call. It positions you as an educator so you can have that conversation, so they know, hey, I can call Tom and he's going to educate me as opposed to try to sell me. And value alignment is one of the key reasons people are making purchase decisions today. If they see that you're involved in a cause that garners mass support. So nobody hates financial wellness, which I love. I've never had anybody protest me or say, hey, don't teach kids about money. So everybody believes that, hey, it should be taught. It's important. So when you're involved in a cause like that, you have mass support, and you're aligning on that value level with clients, which is a huge differentiator. While everybody else is competing on terms and rates, you're competing on values and trust built through your brand equity that's been built.
Thank you for sharing that. And just so our audience knows, Vince's cause is synonymous I'm reading like some of the places where he's been featured. When I first got into this, I was like studying finance. That's why I got into real estate. I was like, how can I be wealthy? How can I achieve financial freedom? And some of the logos on his sheet, the Motley Fool, Business Insider, Washington Post, American Banker, Financial Advisor, NerdWallet. These are all companies and all brands that I saw that were affiliated with financial services. You want to give any insight on that, Vince?
Yeah, I think if we look at the financial service industry, they're investing a lot of money into financial education and wellness. Now, I would love to say it's all just for, giving back, and a lot of it is, but also they understand it's a big way to acquire clients. So with any cause-based marketing, or what they call corporate social responsibility, CSR, it's a balance of giving back to the community, but also business benefits. So through that, giving back and making a difference, which I love. It's, hey, if you can make a difference and benefit financially, wonderful, let's do it. And that's really kind of the end goal. So it's, hey, you're giving back, but they're tracking things, and we track it for them. Things like leads, conversions, client acquisition, all these types of things, and we're comparing it with traditional marketing. Oftentimes, when they're involved in a cause-based campaign, we're actually lowering the client acquisition cost for our clientele, and providing this great value for the community. So that whole CSR phenomenon, which we've seen grow exponentially over the last decade, is just growing at massive rates. And if we look at and there's been a survey the last 10 years, the U.S. has been the most giving country in the world. The population has been the most giving country in the world in terms of volunteer and financial contributions. So Americans are giving. They want to help. They want to support. We see it every day out there in communities, around food shelters, all these things where people are giving their time. And it's nice when you can align with a cause that people believe in, and make a difference to not only the community, but also your business.
Thank you. How can professionals in financial services, as well as real estate services, how can they differentiate themselves from competitors?
Yeah, there's I think the core differentiation, and it's hard to differentiate based on some base foundation principles. You need to be an organized professional, have the basic online presence, right? That's just kind of what people expect. That's not really even differentiation, but I want to set that stage because a lot of people think, oh, differentiation, my name, logo, color scheme, having a website, all that. Yeah, but people expect that. If you don't have that, people are going to discount you, right? So today, that's not differentiation. A decade ago, maybe, right? That was different. Oh, you got a cool website. Oh, you got some social following. That was differentiation then. It's not differentiation anymore. So I think the key ways, I alluded to this before, but it's through community service, right? Giving back, finding that cause. I'd welcome you guys to join the financial education movement and really propel this forward. Another one is leadership positioning. So we are bringing something into the community. So we have our state campaigns where we have financial education sponsors that help us donate materials to the community. We do extensive marketing and promotion campaigns for them. Additionally, that expert positioning, whether it be through going on podcasts because you have knowledge, or doing your own podcast like Jerome. Jerome has a higher level of knowledge because he is leading this, connecting with experts, high level of trust there. Or writing articles, doing vlogs, producing content. Content's a big way to show expertise, being involved in community organizations. All these things are ways to differentiate. So when somebody calls you, you're not just going, my interest rate now is 6.5, here's the cost, right? Or, hey, here's what I do, sell a home, I market, I do this. Everybody does the same thing pretty much, right? You might have a better marketing angle, you might have a little better rate, eighth better rate, but when you're able to say, hey, I've been in financial, I've been in, let's say, mortgages. I've been in mortgages for the last 10 years, very passionate about it. I got into this because I had a problem getting my own mortgage back then. I want to really help people, especially first-time home buyers like yourself. And I also do a lot of work with the community and providing education to these various groups, these different nonprofit groups I support. And I tie that in, I educate you through that process as well. And I look to build a long-term relationship, really educating you through these life stages. So, hey, when you're ready, so I can help, even though I'm on the mortgage side, I want to help and support you there with education and other resources I provide. That's a big differentiator, right? And again, my pitch right there. It need about 10 more times saying out loud, but you get the basic idea. And it's just something you'd refine, but that I try to include the major components there. So don't criticize my pitch there too much is on the top of my head. But when you're able to say that as opposed to 6.5, $5,000 in costs, it makes a huge difference.
Thank you for sharing that. And I just want to share something with you. You inspired me because like I offer products and services and I haven't really been clear on like what exactly that I offer, right? Because a big problem that real estate professionals have is finances, right? They don't want to invest in the marketing. And part of the reason why they don't want to invest because they don't see a clear picture on where the money is going and where they're going to make that return. So you've inspired me that I would like to incorporate some kind of financial education into the new product that I'm making, right? I'm helping them create new stuff and I want to incorporate financial education as part of that. I'd be happy to have you or someone from your company be a contributor to that as well. And that leads me to my next question. How can
Can I jump in there real quick because you brought up a very good point.
Yeah.
I just want to touch on real quick.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you said invest in the marketing, right? And I think a big distinction I just want to make for everybody because we get this question a lot. Hey, when we're buying leads or investing in the marketing, it's like, okay, hey, here's 10 grand. Am I going to make money on that or am I going to lose? Are these good leads or bad leads? Nobody has these leads been worked through by 20 other agents or not? The nice thing about investing into a brand, it's an investment into an asset. So when I look you up online, Jerome, I see 30 pages or 30 plus listings. I look at the first 3 pages of Google. You're filled up the whole thing, right? So that's an investment into an asset that's always going to be there and it's going to be growing and building. So when you're investing in the marketing, it's a risk. I'm a big believer in marketing, test marketing, make sure it's generate an ROI. But when you have an asset like your brand built, that reduces the cost. So we're big into conversion rate optimization, CRO. So if you have all these leads, if you're investing in marketing, somebody like me is looking you up online before they make that call and they're not seeing anything, you're not getting that call. That's a dead lead, right? So that brand helps to improve that conversion rate optimization. And again, it's an asset that keeps working for you while the marketing, hey, might be one and done. Hopefully you generate an ROI or find that lead source that will generate consistent ROI, but that brand is something that's always going to be working for you. And then sorry to interrupt there. You brought up a very good point. I just want to drill down a bit there.
No, I appreciate it. And it was just leading to my next question, which is like, how can we invest into financial wellness? Like, how can we put financial wellness programs into like our marketing and the services that we provided? Like, what is your perspective on that? Like, how can we do that practically, strategically, whether it's like, create a blog or whether it's like, come to me and I have the turnkey system. I just want to hear your perspective on that because that's something that we absolutely need. Like you mentioned earlier, like we don't learn financial education in school. I didn't learn much in school. Honestly, when I got out of school, it's when the real learning started to happen. Jerome, people are like, Jerome, you're so smart. And I'm like, yeah, because I went to find that education and it all happened after I got out of school.
Yeah, man, that's unfortunate. It's still the case today. I'm shocked that financial education isn't taught in school. But there's several ways we could do so. I think just I think the first step is to realize that when you're talking to a client, you are a financial educator. You're educating them on the process and on what it is. I can't tell you how many times I've explained APR, right? Every mortgage broker knows that detailed explanation. But we can incorporate things on those sales type calls too. Some education methodology, something as simple as being able to show them a graphic. Most people are visual learners, so little education technique like visual learning cues by showing them a graphic on Zoom or whatever. Hey, I'm going to explain it, but here's the graphic that explains it, and they're going to pick it up much quicker. So that's a form of education, very base level, but it's a form of education that you can incorporate very easily. Also, you're going to find it reduces your explanation time of those issues by a huge amount. Because when people can visually see it, we look at auditory learners, or less than 15% are auditory. The majority are visual learners. So when we can accommodate the way they like to learn through these visual learning cues, a very simple strategy that works pretty effective there. And it cuts down the explanation time. The other aspect we can do is, again, find that content you want to create. So if you don't like doing videos, don't start doing videos, unfortunately, because anything will require consistency, right? So if you like writing, cool. Maybe you're not a good writer, but you have ideas. Well, you can write the outline, then hire a writer. So the beauty is today we can hire and outsource the people to find those things, or just partner with us. We do it for you. You can, again, incorporate more workshops and classes, those things. You can donate resources to nonprofits and schools in your area. And that's a great way, especially if you're donating, you're building that connection. Whenever we facilitate donations, we always have the organization that is receiving the donations promote the donator, right? Promote the person funding that, because we don't want people to get something for free. We want everybody to have skin in the game. So if you're a school receiving donations, hey, you need to pay back in some way. We're not going to ask you for money, but you're going to promote the person that made that donation for you, and you're going to reach the parents and provide some marketing there as well, because we want a win-win, right? And again, you can go to the highest level, which is more coaching into your practice. Now that's adding a whole nother revenue center. That's a whole nother requirement. And on that end, that's 200 hours of invested time into getting the practice running. We provide you everything, but it is a time investment. But I always say, hey, the higher rate environment, when refis kind of slow down quite a bit, it's always a good time to replan and prepare for if things continue going up or if they come down, and you can start to generate the more of the real estate side, but you have this other service you can offer. So I think the beauty of financial wellness, there's so many ways you can participate. It's finding what you want to do, your outcome goals. Is it more of a brand thing? Is it more a conversion thing? Is it more just a community service thing? And finding the way you want to participate and working toward those goals.
Do you provide workshops and seminars, stuff like that? Like, would you partner up with, say an agent, they run a home buyer seminar and they want to incorporate a financial aspect? How would that work?
Yeah, a few ways. We have a speakers board, so we can connect you with one of our speakers. We have all the materials pre-done. So if you're from first-time home buyer workshops to maintaining real estate workshops to real estate investing workshops, so a variety of different workshops you can put on, all there. So either maybe the agent or the mortgage broker would want to lead that, or they can outsource it to one of our graduates, which are we have a certified financial education instructor program. So really high quality instruction delivered in a way that meets the highest standards, and that's important because your brand's aligned when you bring a speaker, right? So it could be, hey, the DIY, here's the resources, you implement that, to a full servicing that we do. I would say the most popular ones we have right now for those in the financial service and real estate space would be more our state campaigns, where we're bringing on these local professionals onto our state boards. So we just released our California Financial Educators Council, our state chapter, and we bring in financial professionals to those boards. They're donating materials to the community. We're conducting all the promotions, building their brand equity, and doing those things on their behalf. There's a variety of ways. The way I always like to start is just how we approach anything that we're doing financial service. Understand that person's need. Some of the first questions I ask people when they contact us, hey, what's your goal? What are you trying to do? We'll look them up online. Hey, here's where we see the gaps. So really an audit. So same thing you do when you're qualifying them for a mortgage. We understand, hey, what you're looking to accomplish. We understand where you're at, and we're filling in those gaps for you. So even if you're not certain, we can help guide you.
How can we learn more about that? Website, phone number? What's that like?
Yeah, they go to financialeducatorscouncil.org and financial educators with an S, council.org. Or again, just connect with me, Vince Shorb, SHORB, via LinkedIn, and we'll have that conversation. We'll send you the information. And you can just use the contact us page and let us know you heard us through this podcast, and we'll take really good care of you. We just, again, I think we're all in the financial wellness industry, so it's. I think that's the big takeaway here. We're all on the same side, and if we can just help people gain a little bit of extra knowledge, get them in the right products that are going to help them do so, it can make a huge difference in somebody's life. I mean, I remember back in my day in the mid 90s, right? People were contacting me. They're in the double-digit interest rates, and at that time rates were about 6-7%, I believe. back in the mid 90s, and they came down. It was about 5 years prior, they were double digits, 10+%. And still people are contacting me 5 years after rates have gone down significantly, because they weren't paying attention. They didn't know they could refinance on many things, but they lost out on 4 or 5 years of significantly lower payments, and just because they didn't know. So I think, hey, if we can educate more people, find those people that aren't getting this information, and we can really serve our community very well and the nation as a whole.
Thank you for sharing that. Vince, I would like to know how we can provide you value. So the first question is, how can someone add immediate value to you or your business?
Really, if you know anybody that's needs help with financial education, or if you say, hey, my community needs us, there's a problem, people are in financial need, we're happy to help and support. So if you just connect us, we'll take the appropriate next steps. But I appreciate that question.
All right. How can we provide long-term value to you or your business?
I think if you open your heart to being involved in financial wellness on some aspect, again, there's many levels, but if you incorporate education and that type of thing into your practice, you're going to really stand a chance to help a lot of people. And in our organization, we're a certified B Corporation, which means we need a balanced social impact with business growth goals. So if we can work together and really addressing, I think, the biggest problem facing the nation at this time, where it's costing people billions annually because of their lack of knowledge, we can do a great service and, again, help people avoid those sleepless nights, help people. I remember my time when I was worried, scrounging through the couch cushions, looking for change, getting in arguments with my girlfriend at the time because didn't have any money, couldn't go out to eat, right? All those things that are annoyances in life that money can really solve. And again, it's not about getting rich, and for some people, other people it is, right? Which I appreciate. But for some people, it's just, hey, I don't want to have to, think about getting that third job, or I want to be able to take off, a weekend for once in my life without having to drive Uber on the side to pay my bills. All these things can have a drastic positive impact on their lives in the community.
Thank you. What is one question you wish I asked you, and how would you have answered?
Yeah, good question. Let me think. So I would say more lines on, managing. How would you manage this type of incorporating this into your practice? And I think you even touched on it, but it's really, again, I would say, a lot of the aspects of financial education, they're set up and run automated. Even conducting programs, right? The first time always takes a little bit of time, but if you're doing, let's say, live workshops, after you do the first one, you have the marketing done, you have the registration process done, you have everything done. So a lot of it is about process procedures to duplicate. And when we can duplicate, we can scale, right? And when you're able to scale quickly, you can serve more people. That means more leads. That means more potential clients. So I would say, hey, if you can focus on implementing these things with a high degree of attention toward processes and procedure that will allow you to scale, that would be the key thing I would suggest.
All right. Tell us how we can learn more about you and your website again.
Yeah, thanks again. Financialeducatorscouncil.org or LinkedIn, Vince-Shorb.
Okay. Vince, if you could close us out with one word, no explanations, what word would that be?
One word: drive.
Tell us why.
Life isn't easy. It's not, I know everybody kind of paints this rosy picture of, hey, life's easy. It's not. It's a challenge every day. You need to stay driven. You need to stay focused on your reasons. You need to wake up hungry. And if you're not, you need to find that drive and think about those reasons that will motivate you. Be grateful for what you have, but keep driving forward, and be ready to tackle those next challenges. They're always going to be there. And no matter where you are in life, they're always going to be there, just different degrees and different things. So keep that drive going, keep that focus, and I wish you all the very best.
Thank you, Vince. This has been excellent. You've inspired me to incorporate more financial education into the things that I do, and I'm looking forward to reaching out to you for some future collaborations. With that, we are done the show. I want you to sit here, and then we'll wrap it up.
Sounds like a plan, Jerome.
All right.
Thank you
Thank
very
you,
much
man.
for having me. I appreciate what you're doing as well. And you're already financially educating people. You're already an educator. You're doing business education, which is an element of financial education. So you're already leading the pack there. So I appreciate what you're doing, and keep up the great work.
Thank you. Thank you so much.